Thank you, Ki-Sun Lee. Good morning. I arrived in Seoul after a very easy journey, pretty much a third of the way round the world. The welcome here in South Korea was very warm. The greeting made me feel at home, and it's a pleasure to be here today. The ease of the travel got me thinking. The world, for its population, is getting smaller. Connectivity is bringing us together, enabling information to traverse boundaries. Technology is facilitating a dialogue between people. Travel is making the world a smaller, more accessible place. We live in the world of the global citizen. Yet data shows that people know less about their world than ever before in recent history. A recent Pew Research Center study in the United States shows graduates know significantly less than their counterparts just 2 decades ago. Is that because people are not interested in their world? No, I don't believe so. Studies demonstrate there is a demand, a 20% increase in the recent 2 or 3 years, in people looking at news from outside their own countries, outside their own territories. But other data shows the diversity of content simply isn't there. A recent e-content study showed that 85% of news on aggregator websites and some news websites is essentially identical, originating from a single source or from agency copy. So the world may be full of events, but the stories covered are not reflecting the reality on the ground. So why is this? We're in the middle of a perfect storm in the media industry. Broadcasters, newspapers, websites are facing challenges like never before. The world is full of huge news events, the declining funding to media institutions, threats to our viewership, challenges from sensationalism and from spin and propaganda, and great challenges from the rise of new media, the rise of technology. Now, this may be a bleak picture, but within this picture there is cause for great optimism, an opportunity which cannot be and must not be missed. We're seeing dramatic changes taking place across this globe. The world is dominated by fast-moving, complicated stories. Just look at the last year or so. The Japanese tsunami, the death of Kim Jong-il, the killing of Osama bin Laden, Sudanese partition, the global economy, the Arab Spring, the end of Gaddafi, the Occupy movement, ongoing concerns of climate change, and now the conflict in Syria. The landscape, the global landscape, is shifting day by day. History is being made in front of our cameras like never before in recent history, yet media have fewer cameras focused on those historical events. In this complex, fast, dangerous world, people are craving reliable information. Yet we're operating in an environment where trusted information is scarcer and scarcer and scarcer. At the same time, the world is getting smaller and the stories seemingly bigger. The ability and commitment to cover them properly is decreasing. The challenges to journalism and media are increasing all the time. The media industry is facing huge commercial pressure. The world economy, the problems of the world economy, stretched advertising revenue, the proliferation of channels dissipating audiences, new platforms taking eyeballs away from hard copy and TV screens. The total advertising spend on traditional media platforms is reaching rock bottom levels. This year, spending online and on new media platforms and social media is projected to exceed the total spend on print magazines and newspapers for the first time in history. All this is impacting on the ability to news gather, for journalists to first-hand report, to eyewitness events. And as a result, large parts of this globe remain uncovered and unreported. In the United States, nearly 2/3 of newspapers have admitted to cutting back on foreign news coverage in recent years. News networks as a whole have had to reduce the number of foreign bureaus significantly in recent years. Audiences are getting used to a diet of news which is not giving the full picture, used to a digest of information which doesn't reflect the reality of the world. And all this is happening in the context of the increasing presence of new media. Citizen journalism is arguably filling a gap, and it's hot on the heels of us, traditional media. The exponentially increasing conversation about world events online is dwarfing traditional media's presence and privilege in the information world. It took radio 38 years to reach 50 million listeners, television 13 years to reach the same number of viewers, the internet 4 years. Facebook reached 200 million people in less than a year. It's now expected to reach 1 billion by the end of this year. YouTube, staggeringly, I found out, was 7 years old this Monday. It has 4 billion views per day, 1 trillion views in 2011. Quick calculation overnight last night, if you average that out across every member of the population of this Earth, every human being, that would average out at 140 YouTube views per year. The figures are staggering. Without reliable information, people are hunting out their own stories, and they're capitalizing on these platforms. They're finding out their own facts. New media is playing an ever greater role as people hunt out that information. People are turning to one another to find out what's going on, and away, arguably, from traditional journalistic outlets. Technology is facilitating that dialogue and engagement. The rise of social media means the world is now made up of millions of eyewitnesses to events. Bloggers are becoming the new information providers. Mobile phone camera people are becoming the eyewitness reporters. Twitter is putting information in the public domain, whether we like it or not. And we do like it. But a word of caution. This information can be unverified, can be unfiltered, can be unmoderated. It can be an articulation of opinion or an articulation of fact, or sometimes it can be just bald lies. Contributors can be anonymous and can be unaccountable. There's an argument that information in the ethosphere is telling you everything and nothing at exactly the same time. One more point to add with social media. We inhabit a world full of sides of different, often conflicting opinions. Politicians, corporations, sometimes individuals, all have an interest in what we report and how we report it. They're very well versed at amplifying and dampening news lines and stories to steer us on a course which is most advantageous to them. That machinery of spin operates everywhere, and it's embracing new media to steer us off course. No matter where we're broadcasting to or from, the message can be massaged. New media can be used to disguise the truth. There's one other aspect of new media which has to be part of the discussion. New technologies are changing the way people are receiving information, as well as interacting with it. Audiences want information at a time and place of their choosing, and they want to engage with it. TV maybe still takes the lion's share, but it is no longer king. New platforms are taking viewers away from the old ways of watching. The figures are staggering. I thought Xbox used to be a gaming console. Now it provides 57 million people worldwide with video and information. In March this year, March 2012, the number of applications downloaded reached 25 billion. More people now access content through their mobile phones than on websites. Think about it. The first people to hear about the death, the killing of Osama bin Laden, didn't get it from news companies. They got it from a neighbor in Pakistan who tweeted that information firsthand, and the media followed that bit of information. This isn't traditional TV or TV everywhere. This is content everywhere, all of the time. So we're going through a fundamental change in the way that people are digesting information. So what is the future? And where do we fit into it? What is clear is there is a vast potential audience, an audience of people who want, deserve, and are crying out for the right to know what is really going on in their country, in their region, and in their world. In so many global markets, people who want real news have been disenfranchised by what they're getting, denied the right to know and the opportunity to know what's really going on. So despite the challenges to our industry, those that protect the integrity of that content and reflect the reality and diversity of what's going on in the world have an opportunity to reach out to a massive audience and corner the market for those people who want to know about their world. The key? Content. High quality, trusted, credible information delivered swiftly, simply, and giving the full picture of what's going on. So we must be committed and determined to provide credible information, to protect the integrity of that content, to witness events for ourselves with our journalists, to verify information and question every source, to cut through the spin and the propaganda, to fully explain stories, why they're happening and where those stories are going, to give audiences basically the full picture. Never deviate from the responsibility we carry not as entertainers, but as professional informers. And whatever barricades are put in our way, we must be resolute in calling for the freedom of journalists to do their job, for the freedom of speech, and for the right for people to know. New media presents a huge challenge, but it's also a great opportunity. Conversation on the ethosphere is dwarfing traditional viewership. Our online traffic on Al Jazeera English increased 2,500% in the first couple of days of Tahrir Square in Egypt last year. We're followed now by 1 million people on Twitter who get their information direct through Twitter, over 1 million people on Facebook. Sharak, Arabic for your media, Al Jazeera Network's citizen video sharing portal that we set up last year to allow users to submit content online via smartphones. Over the course of the Arab Spring last year, we received over 70,000 videos from the countries involved in revolution. At busy times, we were receiving a video clip every second with content that was informing us, and then we went through the journalistic filtering and the journalistic checks and balances, and then informing our viewers around the world. So there is a great opportunity for an increasing partnership with new media, but one using established journalistic tools to verify source information. And there's a great opportunity to inspire contribution and to engage with the ethosphere so people can be part of the information we're providing. We're effectively seeing a marriage of old and new, of traditional journalism and new media. But in this marriage, there are no vows, there are no promises, there are no established rules. They're being worked out as we speak. The new ways of delivering content are, again, a great opportunity. New platforms are not taking away from TV, they are complementary. Last year, over 1 billion minutes of Al Jazeera English was watched live online. Over 36 million minutes in the first 3 months of this year on the iPhone alone. The key to any multi-platform approach is to take the information to where the conversation is happening, whether it's Facebook, TV, Twitter, YouTube, or anywhere else. To give audiences a choice to have our content whenever they want it and wherever they want it, with a recognition that every device complements the other. The platforms may change. Maybe it was BlackBerry last year, iPhone this year, who knows what next year, but the content cannot. As I stand in the home of Samsung and LG, one thing, watch out for connected TV. By the end of last year, almost 100 million households own connected TV sets, with that figure projected to rise by 500 million in 2016. And that aggregation of TV, online, video demand, social media is bringing it all together. And one important add-on, especially for the accountants amongst us today, advertising through new media platforms is far more targeted than traditional platforms. The technology of new platforms mean they know more about the consumers, the audiences, the listeners, the readers, what you've been watching, what you've been buying, what you like, what you don't like. So the advertising is more targeted. As a consequence, it has higher value and therefore a greater return. And that increased revenue can be reinvested in content. So if I may, I'll finish with a couple of thoughts. The market for people who really want to know what's going on is massive. And for different reasons, and at different times, whether it's something happening in your neighborhood, a big story happening on the far side of the world, or joining up the dots between the stories that makes it relevant to you, I believe that includes pretty much everyone. In order to get reliable information, people will turn to the most credible sources, not just new media or TV. They may snack at the blogs and the YouTube videos, but they'll turn to the providers they trust. Look at The Economist. It had 100% circulation growth in the last 10 years, and ever increasing as they penetrate new markets. In Spain, El Mundo newspaper lags behind El País in print circulation, but with a smart global strategy, it's ahead online. 42% of its readers are outside Spain, and though it sells no print copies in Latin America, it's among the top 2 or 3 news sites in every Spanish-speaking country in that region. That's a testament to the opportunity we have to capture a market, build on the trust and the ensuing viewership to reinvest in the core product. With trust comes reputation. With reputation comes reach. With reach comes revenue. The chance to actually fund the provision of information, as long as that information is trusted, reliable journalism, underpinned by credibility and integrity. Thank you.